So it's 5:01. I'll go ahead and start it off as people trickle in, and I'll try to pay attention. Dan, how do I make you co-host? Or do I need to make you co-host? Or I'm pretty sure like my pro officer's not going to come in here and
I
jam
think
me up.
you
I'm not
click on
really
my
sure how he
name
does.
and there's a button to add to co-host or something like that.
Perfect. Cool, man. Well, now that some of the people are in here, yeah, I just want to say thank you for all the support and love that I've gotten in the crypto community, man. That has 100% backed me up since I got into Twitter. It's been a little over a year now, and out of incarceration, and I seeked a lot of answers and change in my life because I've been doing this um, in and out of prison for 20 years, since 2003, and I given 12 of that in fully incarcerated in prison, and I've made some documentaries on my YouTube, and not really knowing, just playing around, trying to find an outlet on sobriety, fun things to do to get my mind off of drugs. And I'm a severe drug addict, man. And so I constantly, in my mind, I constantly think about drugs nonstop. Like I constantly think about shooting up meth and crack and heroin and just whatever it was, whatever drug was around me, whatever my flavor was. What basically it's a addiction of more. Um, and so I just reached out. Um, didn't know really what I was doing. I was on YouTube and found Richard Hart and listened to a bunch of his videos and started watching K for K and Matty Allen. And those were basically the main three ones that I listened to and watched. And then it brought me to Discord, and I met Hex Turtle, and didn't even know it was him. His name on Discord is something totally different. And I didn't really like Discord because there was nonstop scams going on. So I got into Twitter, and from that, Hexdeck and CZ invited me up to talk, and it just kind of broke the ice. And then after that, I reached out to Black Hexakin and Abit Hex, and they kind of put me on game to more like everything really, man. So it was just like networking and myself reaching out, trying to find different things to be healthy and positive. And once I started getting into Hex and started learning Hex, it gave me hope, right? Of a future that I never dreamt in a million years could happen. I never dreamt that I would be successful at anything, other than just like being a happy person and a positive person. And so the further I got down the rabbit hole with Hex and in Twitter Spaces, people started, I started doing YouTube channel a little bit, and I would do a TikTok a little bit, and then people just kept recommending you should do a recovery live space on Twitter. So that's how this came about. Um, and so here we are, man. On Twitter, and I want to create a space for people that struggle with addiction or have struggled with addiction in the past, that can open up and feel comfortable about talking about their past but not living in it, because it's pointless to live in your past because there's nothing you can do about it, right? There's nothing you can do about your past at all. It's done. All you can do is learn from it and move on, dust yourself off, get up, and keep going forward. So that's what I've learned, and I probably could have done it without Twitter, but I feel like it would have been harder. And I don't think I would have had the backing, the support, and the love that I got from the Hex community in cryptocurrency. And so when I say from prison to crypto success, I don't mean financially yet, right? Um, I am into crypto, and but my success comes with my happiness and the people that I met in the hex space. The people that I met at the hex meetup in Las Vegas, I met true people, like genuine, loving, caring people, and they're all over the world, right? But it just happens to be Richard Hart put together this project, and here we are, you know. And whether you're a Hexican or you're not a Hexican, you still have something to relate to, with recovery or something like that. And it's just pretty cool that this is where it's brought me, and I haven't given up yet. And so, for sure, like if anyone wants to share about past experiences or how they ended up here, feel free to raise your hand. Come on up. That is pretty much an open floor, man. I just put this space together just to chop it up about, like anyone that's in AA or anyone that's in a recovery group or anyone that has anything to share. And yeah, man, let's just chop it up. RG3, I see you, man.
Hey man, can you hear me? Right
Absolutely,
on, right
bro.
on. Well, good on you for putting this together, and congratulations on moving into recovery. And I'm glad you brought this here. I've spoken a little bit, on stream about my situation. Of course, in the movie, there's a lot more of it about who I am, what I do. So for those of you who are here and in this recovery room, anonymity to me is important. So I don't know who all of you are. This is kind of an open space right now, so I'm a little leery of it. But I'm going to let it fly. My name is Roy. That's where the R comes from. A lot of people know that. It's not a secret. Um, but I've been around the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and AA, NA for the last 28 years. I've been clean and sober, and it's changed my whole life. My story is one that I don't really dig into too deep. I came from the streets. I grew up in Inglewood, which was a drug infested, gang infested neighborhood, and I just took to it like a duck to water, to the drug scene, and it took it in every direction you can imagine. Um, what finally got me, you know, cleaned up was at the age of 28. I'd had my third heart attack. Back in the 90s was it was all about speedballs and a lot of heroin and cocaine in Hollywood where I was at and whatnot, and that's what led me down the path to destruction. And so, by the grace of God, I was um, given a hand up from some friends that cared about me, and they said, "Hey, we'll get you into this house." And I ended up in a halfway house like you've been, for ex-convicts, sleeping on the couch, detoxing, eating ramen noodles and peanut butter cups and stuff out of the cupboard, the community cupboard. Homeless. I was homeless a couple of times in my life because of my addiction, and but it was that little blue book of AA that actually, um, I learned how to live life on life's terms, and that's what it really was all about. And being around the people in recovery, I was finally around good people versus all the people that I spent time around. All I knew was, I had a father that was in prison, single mom that was trying to raise a few other kids, and I just ran the streets. And so, my mentors were gangbangers and drug dealers, pimps, you name it. So that's who I went to school, the hard knock school with was all those types. And I'd never been around real good people before in my life until I did get into that home. And then one thing that happened to me that really changed my life, and I'll leave this little story because I have a million stories, but I'll leave this little story with you guys. We were, and some of you might have heard this before because I do tell it often, but we were all sitting around this table, and he was doing what's called a goal setting workshop. I'd never heard anything like that before. I never done any goal setting, and it wasn't part of the mentoring that I got. But we sat down and we were supposed to write down the things that we wanted, and goals that we wanted to set. So at the time when I had just gotten there, I just finished detoxing, slipping and sliding and shaking on the couch. I'll never forget that vinyl couch, man, just sweating all over it and shaking and itching and scratching, the skin crawling and all that crap. And I wanted to get up in the rooms because, you had to pay to get up in the rooms. They were giving me a reprieve by letting me sleep on the couch. I was just kind of there for free. And so I wrote down on my little paper, I want to get into the room. I'd like to have my own food, like not eating ramen noodles and crackers and stuff out of the community cupboard anymore. And so I wrote that down. And then the guys that were there that would come and mentor us, they had a sober softball league that they were all in. And I was like, man, it'd be nice to get a softball glove and at the thrift store here and go play ball with these guys. That would be cool. So I wrote down the softball glove and I had that piece of paper done, and I was sitting there all proud looking at it, chest puffed out. And I was done with it. And the guy that ran the house, his name was Gray Bear. And he walked around, he came over to behind me and he was bent down to read what I wrote. And I could see him reading it, and then he reached down and he grabbed it and he crumbled it up and he slammed it in my face, right? And he said, "Is that all you got? Is that really all you got? That's your goals? Not eating ramen noodles, getting off of a couch and a softball mitt? Really? That's as far as you can dream and imagine and be, right?" So I got pissed off and stood up and got in his face and said, "Yeah, what are you fucking talking about? Like my own home and like a wife and kids and a fucking Harley or some shit like that? Is that what you're talking about? Right, man?" And he said, "There you go. Now sit down and write that shit and get out of my face." And so whatever, I sat down and wrote it. And this big table that we were at had a big glass table. We stuffed all the papers, and there was all these papers underneath it of people's goals, and stuffed it underneath the glass. And years went by, recovery went by, mentorship went by, and I ended up with a couple of homes and a beautiful wife that I've been married to for 22 years, 3 kids, sold the Harleys a long time ago. But all those things I wrote down that day came to fruition because somebody kind of forced me to dream a little bit. And I'll never forget or I'll always be grateful for that person, Gray Bear, making me do that, because I knew at that point when I look back on it all those years that, yeah, it may take time and there may be struggles, but if you keep being consistent and you keep sober every single day and just every day do it, just today I'm going to stay sober. It doesn't matter what tomorrow is. It doesn't matter what yesterday was, how bad yesterday was or whatever. But today I'm going to be sober. And I just kept doing it like that. White knuckled it for like the first fucking 5 years, man. I was like you, man. All I could think about was sticking another fucking needle in my arm. Was just, I couldn't get that thought out of my mind. I just wanted it so bad. So I had to like stick around those folks like glue, man. I put some really good people around me, and today those people are really good friends. I got a buddy that we're having his 35th sober birthday party here at my house next week, and there's a whole group of them coming. They've got 25, 30, 35, 40 years that are coming over, and we have a great time, man. We've had a good time for many, many years. And now times are getting better, because now my life has changed once again. But if it wasn't for the fact that I put the plug in the jug and quit sticking needles in my arm, then life wouldn't be what it is today. I wouldn't have crypto. I wouldn't have my family, because all it takes is that one time for me. My disease is, I always look at it like, even though I've got 28 years sober, every morning when I wake up and I look in the mirror and I brush my damn teeth, I see and imagine a goddamn 800-pound snarling gorilla behind me with his fucking teeth just waiting for me. Just like, make one fucking move, dude. One bad move today. Just do it. And I got you. That's how I see my disease, and I have to see it like that, even at 28 years sober, because it's still there. It's still not going to leave, because all it's going to take is that one time, and then I lose everything. In fact, one of the conditions when I got married to my wife, I told her, I said, babe, I said, if you ever see me pick up a beer, pick up a joint, pick up anything, come home loaded, see something, see some drugs, get you and the kids and whatever we got and get the fuck away from me, because it's all over with at that point. Because I don't know how to do those things like some normal people can. I mean, I don't know anybody who can shoot heroin and cocaine and shit like that normally, but some people can drink, and some people can smoke weed. But I can't. I have to be sober, and my life is great because of it. And it ain't always rosy. It ain't always easy, you know. And sometimes, in my mind, in the early days, especially, it would be like, man, it would sure be nice to be loaded right now and not have to deal with this, not have to deal with the death of my father, not have to deal with losing things, and not have to deal with stress of work and getting fired or this or that or whatever, There have been times, there have been real times that I thought about it. But, there's nothing that I can do to express my appreciation for the program that I'm in. And I know this is an official meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous or NA or whatever, but it's those programs that got me through it, and it's those people that I met in those programs, not necessarily just doing the book stuff and doing the steps and all that kind of stuff, but it's the people, man. It's the good people that you get a hold of, and you hold on to them, and you'll know who they are. You'll find them. And you'll know the people that are faking the funk on the funky dunk, and you'll know the people that are really doing this thing the right way. And those are the people you hang on to. So I'm grateful that you did this. I appreciate you spending the time, taking the time, putting the effort in to doing this. Again, I'm a little leery because I don't know who's in these rooms, because my meetings are very private, very personal. But I'm not afraid to tell people who I am. I never have been. I never will be. It's not hidden from my children. It's not hidden from my wife. It's not hidden from anybody that knows me. It's who I am. So thank you for letting me talk here, and appreciate you, Jimmy.
Yeah, RG3, that's it, man. I used to be a lot of the same way, man, and I think it's important for especially, convicted felons. As I sit in this halfway house, I see so many guys filter through here, and they're so scared, like they're first time felons. They think their life's ruined. They think they're never gonna amount to anything because they got that jacket on them. And I don't feel the same way. Yeah, not everyone likes to talk about it, but it's really what you do with it, right? There are a lot of felons that give felons a bad name, and there's a lot of really good convicted felons out there that have changed their lives and are wanting to help change the world and be part of the solution, not the problem. So yeah, I really appreciate that, man. I really do.
Yep, a lot of the best people I know were really, really fucked up at one time.
Yeah, man, and that's exactly it, man. And that's what I want people to recognize that, man, it's okay, man. Like it's okay to talk about this stuff and have a space like this and be vulnerable, because it really teaches yourself about yourself, man. It gives you a motive to like do better and be like, it gives you a boost of confidence, when you have other people, especially in a realm like this where there's hundreds of thousands of people that could just chime in. You don't know who, if they're freaking scammers, trollers, or whatever it is, and you're being vulnerable. So it is kind of scary, man, and I get it, but I do appreciate the input, bro. That's huge to me. Iron Hex, do you have anything you want to add, man? I see you down there.
Uh, I just picked up my kids. I was gonna talk, but I don't really
No
want
worries. No worries,
to. But
man.
I'll listen.
That's it. I appreciate it, bro. Yeah, if anyone has anything to say or anything like that and want to add, man, raise your hand or just step up. Chris, we got you on co-host up there. I know you have something you could probably talk about.
Yep. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely, loud and clear, brother, for real.
Yeah, so first of all, RG3, that was pretty cool, man. Little story there. I wanted to say thanks for sharing that. That's I can remember some pretty low moments for myself, and I'm sure everybody has their own story or stories where they've hit, pretty low points in their life. Um, so for me, I'm kind of in the same boat as RG3. I'm not maybe so much worried about the anonymity because I mean, this space looks like it's recorded, but in all due respect, it is an open space, and what RG3 is referring to are the rooms, and those rooms are, what got me away from alcohol. I just hit 10 years. I think it was like 14 days ago. So I don't have near the time that RG3 has, but my problems encompassed strictly, mainly alcohol and pills. So for me, being vulnerable and then, not, I'm going to go maybe take this in a different, direction, but the pills were a big problem with me. um, I did some of the craziest things. I was at, my lowest point to where I almost had to commit my own self into rehab. I almost feel like that the people that were on pills or, heroin through the last probably 10 to 12 years through this monster run that we went through and what all happened and what we saw unfolded, the people that are in this room that are still alive and with heartbeats are probably in the less than 1% that survived. So, that's a pretty strong statement. And there were moments for me where, when I knew that I had to ultimately, come to terms with some aspects of my addiction, and what it really came down to for me is that I was honest with myself. When I'm honest with myself, if I listen to the person or that voice in my head, that's telling me, okay, this might be taking it too far, then I might have a problem. I might have an issue that needs to be dealt with, and I might need to seek help. And so those are the types of things that, I had to, ask myself when I wanted to or when I needed to be honest with myself. And then life, like RG3 says, it gets exponentially better. You build day after day, and you start to accrue some time of doing the next right thing and having winners surrounded, around you. And that's kind of what it's all about. You stick with the winners and the ones that are, showing the actions and living the life that you want to emulate. And that's about it, really. I mean, it's really just one day at a time. I mean, I always say this, it doesn't really matter if you've got, 40 or 45 years, like a couple of guys in my home group, in my hometown. It doesn't matter. They wake up just like I do every day, and they've got to deal with those sways of feelings and emotions on the daily. Where, as everybody knows in here, when you wake up, you could feel like you're not really anxious or you have some anxiety, and then there are other days where you just can't seem to settle your head down, and you're like weird. So that's kind of the way it is for me. And those are the days where you have to rely on other people that have more experience than you that can help you, pick up the phone, call somebody. So those have been a little bit of, my experience in recovery and what, a little bit about me. But as far as being vulnerable to everybody else in here, you know, I quit kind of living my life in fear, several years ago. I've just taken a more of a different approach, and, getting back to the crypto aspect, and it's crypto and recovery, circling back to that with the crypto aspect in mind and what we're, for me, and this is going to sound pretty crazy, for me to say, and, I'll probably end up, spinning this off in the rest of my for the rest of my life and the project that I'm working on and what I'm doing, to onboard. But for me, personally, I'm a very aware person of how I feel about certain things and what's close to my heart and what really is truly worth it and, worth my time. And when I onboard or when I help someone, if I'm doing the next right thing, it always seems to, I'm going to try and not make this so serious anymore, but it tends to lean into the crypto. Like I'm trying to tell somebody about Hex, like, and I'm like thinking about dating this person, but yeah, I want to talk to the girl that I'm talking to on the phone about Hex more so than I want to talk to her about her kid. So I got some serious issues going on with that, but yeah, there's an addiction to the crypto that I've found that I've really enjoyed coupling, and using the helping and being of service. And it's almost like crypto and the recovery, they go kind of hand in hand, because the way I like to onboard is that I would similarly, onboard somebody, in a very I guess the best way would be slow and natural, or planting the seed, as they like to say in the rooms. You plant the seed, and then eventually maybe that seed turns into something and grows into a fully functional plant or a wallet address. So, that's kind of the way I like to see it sometimes, is that, when I'm around people, I can not only be an example and be that person that they could, that I can be of service to, but I can also help them in showing them the light, and which is the light that you're talking about, Jimmy, is some of the things that you've alluded to, the direction and the structure, and just kind of something to live for, and just like you understand that if you put in the time, hey, you're going to get the rewards, you're going to get the yield, right? So it's kind of the same thing. So it just depends on how you want to couple it. So I hope that helps somebody in here. But I'm Chris. I'm an alcoholic and addict.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. That's huge, man. It's crazy how we find outlets like that. I know for me, I trade one addiction for the other right away, mandatory. Like if every time I get out of prison, I start hitting the weights, and then find my career again. I think it's going to be my lifelong career, whether it was hanging iron or selling cars or now the hotel business or something like that. And but this time it's different, because I do have crypto in my life, and it might not amount to a whole bunch, but I know in the long run it gives me hope for a great future. Like, um, and that's why crypto and recovery is so huge for me, man. Is because it just gives me that outlet to like have a positive outlook on life and know that everything's gonna be good, man. It's gonna be rocky at times, like RG3 said, man. It's not always cotton candy, and it's just amazing, bro. Hey Sean, did you I would really like to hear from you, man. You've been a huge inspiration to me, man, since I've been in Twitter. You have a great story. And I would like to hear from you, man.
Thank you, Jimmy. Hi, everyone. Well, some of you guys have heard about my background. I don't want to repeat it completely, but I just want to say that life is full of everything you want. It's it. I mean, if you want to live a positive life, you have the opportunity. You have everything all around you. You have the possibility. If you want to live a negative life, which is negative for you and for your surroundings, it is also possible. But you have to look at the end of that thing. Okay, if, for example, I was at early ages, I started to hang out with wrong people. Although I'm not saying that I have been addicted, but I was living a life which is kind of like is an addiction. I mean, the life that the TV shows that this is the life, not the real life that we are living. And I was living a fucked up life. Always had the fear that I will get caught tomorrow or maybe in 5 minutes or maybe the next week, or I might get killed, or I might get like hurt so badly that I could become handicapped. But the thing is that one day I had the money, I had everything, but at the same time, I didn't have that peace in my life. I sat down and started to think, what is the end of this story? I might get killed. I might end up in a jail. I might hurt somebody that will cause a big problem. So is it the life that I want? No, I had to decide that day, and it has passed 6 years. I'm really happy for the changes in my life. I was drinking, I was partying, I was involved in gambling, I was involved in selling drugs and hanging out with criminals. But although I had spent a lot of time around those people doing all those things, it was a big loss for me because, like, leaving those things, because I didn't know good people. I didn't know what's not didn't know, like I was not doing anything right, but I had to decide. I had to think and see what's right for me. So one day I just sat, like, at home and started to think about everything that I'm doing and what's the end of it. When I noticed that it's not positive, it's not something that a normal person wants, I changed everything. I lost everything. I lost my friends. I lost the people that I was hanging out with. But the good thing is that I have a better life right now. I have met lots of good people. And then, since I have been in this community, seriously, it has helped me a lot mentally, like psychologically, uh, with, like, connecting with people, learning positive things. I stopped studying. I mean, like, maybe 12, 13 years ago. I have started recently again, thanks to the community. So I should say that it's all up to you. If you have a strong will, you can do anything you want. Anything. I have I'm not saying that I have been directly a homeless person, but I live such a life. I left the city where I was living because of my background, because of the fear of getting caught or getting killed. Moved to another place, living for $300 per month, and $300 in Europe. I'm actually living in Europe, is not enough to even feed yourself. So I was like, most of the time I was sleeping in the, like, train station for 2 years, uh, airports, like taking shower in gyms. But all I'm just saying that although I suffered a lot during that time, but my strong will helped me to come back to rebuild my life. So all I'm just saying that nothing is impossible. You you, you are strong. Everyone is strong. If you think that you're strong, you can deal with any kind of problem in your life. If you think that alcohol, if you think that drugs, if you think that hanging out with wrong people will help you, you're really wrong. So all I'm just saying that I'm really happy for my life. I'm really happy being in this community, and I'm really happy for the strong will that I have and the decision I made 5, 6 years ago. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, Sean. It is so true, man. You product of who you hang out. My grandma used to tell me that, right? Birds of a feather flock together. And I as I sit here and live in the halfway house, I constantly see, like, there's guys that don't give a fuck about nothing. Like, they don't care. When one guy goes to jail, like, I just rolled up 4 guys in the last week out of the halfway house. One wouldn't stop drinking in the room. The other one was stalking some chick leaving the district. Another one had a violation going having a relationship for a violation, and it gives me anxiety because, like, I'm in this house and I know, just like, PMP in the state of Idaho is off the charts. Like, there's no room for error, and it just makes me think that, like, when I'm rolling these guys' stuff up to put it in the garage for management to take out, I have other guys coming in the house saying, "Hey, man, what can I get? What can I?" was like, "You can't get nothing, man. This is not our stuff. Like, you're not here to take any of their clothes or anything like that." And it's a mentality that you associate with in environments like this, and it sucks, man. It sucks. And then on the streets is the same thing. I've been robbed every time I went to prison. My best friends have taken everything from me, right? Because they see a window of opportunity. Oh, Dustin's in jail. We're just gonna go take his stuff. We'll say we'll hold it for him. And then so after a time, the pain outweighs the pleasure, right? For me it does, not for everyone. I can't speak for everyone. For me it's the pain outweighs the pleasure, man. And it's like I have to stop hanging around these people. For one, I have another friend that's on the run right now, and I talk to him occasionally. And I actually have stopped talking to him because it's just negative. Like you said, it's just a negative vibe, man. And I love him to death, but like he's either gonna end up dead. He's on fentanyl, so he's either gonna end up dead or back in jail, right? Eventually, he's gonna get locked up or he's gonna die. And I don't want to be around that. I love him to death. I've saved his life once from a heroin overdose about 2 years ago, and I just don't. As much as I love him, I can't be around that no more, or else I'm gonna fail, right? And so it's important that you say that, man, and it's important for anyone that is out there that know that. Like, if you're new in addiction or you're just trying to, find a way or anything, like, you have to stop hanging around those people, no matter how much you love them, whether it's family members or friends. They're gonna bring you down. They're gonna take you down, and you're gonna end up back in prison, or you're gonna end up back on the needle or the pipe or whatever like that, man. There's just no bueno. It's not good at all. It's all bad.
Once we realize that we are the most important person in our lives, that time we understand what's good, what's bad for us. Being like feeling dependent to people who are doing negative things just because you don't have friends or you don't know anyone, it's not gonna solve your problems. Going to drugs or drinking. I'm not like saying that you should not drink, but drinking like daily just in order to forget your pain or your problems is not going to solve any problem. This is what I have learned in these 5 6 years. I had to, like I said, I moved to other countries for 2 years in order to stay away from those people. It was really hard. I had nobody. I didn't even know how to talk properly with normal people, how to build a relation with normal people, because I spend most of my time around those negative people. And guess what? I did it. So nothing is impossible. You want to do something, you can do it. I left the city where I grew up. I left those people who I grew up with, my classmates, my childhood friends, everyone. I left everyone for what? For what is good for me. What was good for me was to leave everything there and restart. And guess what? I have new friends. I have better health. I have the peace. The most important thing in my life is the peace that I have that I didn't have before. I had a lot of money back in the days. I had reputation. I mean, I felt kind of like, like in the movies, like somebody who was getting some kind of respect from like kids on the street and stuff like that. But what did it bring in my life? Nothing. It was just a fucking temporary happiness that I thought was a happiness. So everything is possible. Anything is possible in this world if you have a strong will. If you want to do anything, if you want to change your life today, you can do it. Trust me, even if you are at like 50 and you think that you might live 20 more years, but why don't you want to spend at least the last 10 years in peace and, like a normal people? You can rebuild everything in a short time. In 5 years, I rebuilt everything. I have friends. I have like a proper job. I have money. I have, like everything that a normal person have. But back in the days, I thought I will be like a homeless for the rest of my life at the beginning when I started my journey. So nothing is impossible. If you have a strong will, if you have a plan in your life, if you have discipline, you can do anything in your life. And the most important thing, again, I'm repeating, you are the most important person in your life. think about that person first instead of thinking about your surroundings and your environment. Once you started to take care of that person, which is you, and think about what is good for that you will, once you have all those things, then that time when you have everything, you can spread that happiness, that everything that you have, you can share with people. But if you don't have that thing, if you don't have a good health, if you don't have peace in your life, if you have nothing like a normal people, what you gonna share with? Who are you gonna share with the people like you? So change is possible, and anything is possible if you have a strong will.
Yeah, that's so true, man. And being an addict, we struggle with instant gratification, right? So for me, for this last year, my girlfriend's been incarcerated as well, and we weren't really serious till about these last 6 months. Actually, when Chris came out here, I was, yeah, wasn't really quite serious about anything. And then I just finally committed to her, and I talked to her a lot about that instant gratification. And she, how I met her was through a suicide call. Like she called me, she was on her last, like she's like her last reach out, and she wanted to die. She was on fentanyl and she lost all her hope. And nothing could happen fast enough. Like happiness couldn't happen fast enough, and getting out of the halfway house couldn't happen fast enough. Getting into treatment couldn't happen fast enough. So it's important for anyone that is struggling with addiction to just know that, like, I mean, these things take time, just like crypto, right? Hey man, hold for the long time because it's gonna make you wealthy, and it being in the right cryptocurrency, and that's a lot what Richard Hart says is patience, and that's one thing that I've learned in this last year is serious patience. And now, um, hold on, I'm trying to bring you up, man. I see you down there. There we go. Um, so it's super important, John. I'm glad you brought that up because it just, I'm super ADD and dyslexic, so my mind goes a million miles a second. So I try to pay attention to conversations and pick out topics that I can talk on. But I get spun off very, very fast and go down rabbit holes. Shillin Hex, man, what do you got, bro?
With all
You want to share
due
with us, bro?
with all due respect, seems that you are half in the shit and half away from the shit, because if you are still in contact with friends that are drug addicts and people that are like that are in those areas, if you keep uh, if you are in touch with them, it's more easier for you to become like them. It's much better to cut the crap 100% and stay away from them, because with the people that you hang out is most likely, yeah, that you will get some of those behaviors.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. That's exactly it, man. We have to be super selfish when we are in recovery, dude. In a lot of aspects of life, not just recovery. That if you do have that past, it's so important to be selfish because, man, you start hanging around those people, bro. You know what time it's gonna. It's a matter of time before you're fucking hitting that bulb again, or you're on that needle, or the blunt, or having the drink, or
Yeah, for example, in my case, I started to use marijuana when I was 20. Uh, I'm 37, so I spent like almost 17 years consuming that, and I stopped like almost 8 months ago. But what I did is I cut all my friends that were like super weed friendly, and I cut all the dealers and so on. So because it's like a circle of doing nothing. if I spend time with them. So I cut all of them, and I have been clean. And part of my temporarily depression, it was only because of the of abusing of marijuana, because all drugs affects your mood. For example, if you drink daily, when you give up drinking, you will have like some withdrawals, and that happened to me, but with marijuana. So right now I feel amazing, and I what I did is I cut all my weed friends, because they if I keep interact with them, they will say like, oh man, why don't you smoke, come on man, just one, do it one more time, and things like that. And if you say no, they will look you as an enemy in regards of that. So I prefer to spend my 24 hours with people that are uh, equal as me or better than me. So with people that are better than me, I have more to learn about. So and also you know, when you are like when you have like drug problems, you will have it for all your life. It's not like you can do it part time, because just in my case, I can't smoke anymore, because I know that because of my personality, I will turn again into a heavily pot smoker. And it's not a hard drug, but I'm like I I I have been doing it like for almost 17 years, and I smoke like in the morning, then at 3 p.m., and then during the night, every day, every day, every day. So I prefer to be addicted of good things. So now I'm trying to just work, invest in crypto, and my mood has been better than ever, because when you when you do drugs, it's you do this, you trade 1 minute of amazing feelings for hours of bad feelings, because when you are not doing drugs is when you feel like shit. So you need more drugs to feel the good moments, but they don't last longer. And also we were born without the need of drugs. So, and also drugs, they destroy your testosterone. you know so that's why you feel more weak at the end of the day. And if you do drugs, your libido goes away for some hours. In your mind, you want to fuck girls sometimes, but you can't do it because it's very different. You don't have good bones. I don't know how to say it, boner. And so on. And that happens with everything, with coke, with alcohol, with weed. You feel more lazy, less testosterone during those times when you are drunk, where you are high. So it's and also you smell different. And girls, they notice that the smell and your vibe is different when you are high and when you are not high. So it's better to be to live without drugs because of that, because we have like a different we smell different. We are like we are monkeys. And so gears get attracted also by the smell of the of us. So when you when you are high, you cut that. that those hormones that you produce. And it's 100% right, that man.
Yeah,
Also,
man. That's
also,
exactly it, dude.
also your bone density, you get weak. Your bones are more, they get weaker, and so I'm happy right now because I cut it all. So the only drug that I do is a little bit of caffeine and Red Bull, but not so much.
That's awesome, bro. I really appreciate you sharing that. I've never seen you in spaces or anything like that, so I just really, I'm gonna make sure I follow you. And yeah, dude, I really appreciate you sharing because it's really right. We live a life of unmanageability. Not everyone. I mean, you have people that can smoke weed all day long and function just fine, but I'm not one of them. Humble, what you got, man?
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
Okay. I've been hearing a lot of a word being used. I just wanted to kind of make a point on it and the difference on how it can be a different way it can be used. But a lot of I've been hearing like Sean talking about, a couple other people talking about how you need to be selfish when it comes to uh, your life and the people you hang out with and the decisions you make. And I don't know if you guys know this, but that's the exact opposite of love, right? And like, if someone in that position would just say, I want to show love to myself instead of being selfish, if you really thought about like what it really means to be selfish and how destructive that can be, not only to others, but to yourself, and you replace that with just saying that you want to show yourself love. I don't want to be around these people because I really love myself. I don't want to hurt myself, right? Their actions can really have a detriment to my body and my mental health. And I love myself, and I don't want to do that. But if I'm going to be selfish about it, I'm really taking something away. And so something as simple as a single word can really have a impact, real big impact on ourselves. And so I just wanted to, I think it's really important that people stop being selfish and started really just showing love to themselves. Because even if you're being selfish in a good way, it's still a real negative impact on what selfishness really is. But if you do want to show love to yourself, you're going to be doing all those positive things that you're talking about. But at the same time, you're going to be feeling a lot better about it. You know what I mean? And so I know it sounds kind of like nitpicking, but it's really not. If you really sit down and really think about the difference between being selfish and just wanting to show love to yourself, right? And to your well-being. And if you really think about it, I think you will see a difference there. And if you start saying that you love yourself and you want to do the things that show that you love yourself, you're going to feel really good about yourself. But if I'm going to sit and tell myself I'm going to be very selfish, I'm doing this because I'm selfish, I don't feel very good about myself, right? And so I know a lot of addicts that, like people that I know, they don't like themselves very much. But if you continue to tell yourself that you love yourself and you're doing the things that you're doing, like positively, because you love yourself, it's going to have that much more of a positive impact. It's actually going to change your life a lot faster, right? Because it's like a mantra or a affirmation, right? If you tell yourself something over and over and over again, you start to believe it. You're being selfish for good
Humble,
reason.
bro.
That kind
Bro,
of,
you just
sorry.
did a mic drop. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, thank you so much for that, man. For real. That's you just yeah, mic drop, dude. You just put that in a great perspective that I never even thought about looking at because all my life I'm in treatment, I've been told to be selfish, right? And you make a very great point, man. Why am I being selfish? Why don't I love myself, right? Thank you, bro, for that. That really hit home with me and I really appreciate you sharing that, man. What you got, RG3?
Yo, I gotta roll. I got another meeting to do here in a few minutes, but just a couple of words on everything that was said. You know, First of all, good job on your room. This should be a cool space. I would like to make a suggestion that you don't record it, only because it would make people probably feel a little bit more apt to really sharing what's going on with them. Hold on. Yep, I'm coming, guys. Hold on. So just a little suggestion. But as far as the selfishness thing, of course, man, it's just like the oxygen mask in the airplane, and taking care of yourself first. Because I know that us as addicts, alcoholics, recovering people, whatever you want to call us all. One of the things about us that's different, that if you do finally realize that that's who you are, some of you might be just in this room kind of like putzing around. You don't know if you are or not. Life's good sometimes, life's bad sometimes, and really hasn't hit you in the face that hard or kicked you in the gut that hard and got you on your knees yet. But it's you're different now when you do finally admit that your life's unmanageable, that that this is what's doing it, and you want to get some help, you want to try and change it. Your life changes at that moment, and you have to prioritize something. And usually people in the real world, they prioritize their life, like their spirituality or their God or whatever you might want to call it, or whatever. Then their family, then their work, and all these things like go down the line, right? Their friends, their family, their work. But a recovering addict has to prioritize something else on top of all that, and that's your recovery. You have to put that on top of everything, or you have none of those other things that other normal people are able to have, just by waking up daily. We're different. We are different. There are people who can go out there and use drugs. So one of the people that was just speaking a minute ago was saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. I don't ever say that, because some people I know, they live perfectly fine lives smoking weed and doing cocaine once or twice a year, or drinking on the weekends, and they're healthy and they're fine and they're happy and their lives are manageable. That's because they're not addicted. That's because they're not an addict. That's because their lives aren't prioritized by that. Alcoholism and drug addiction are just a symptom of an underlying problem. And that's what addicts have. We've got an underlying problem. And that means that every day we've got to go out there and work on that, living life on life's terms, and trying to change that behavior that makes us feel so tired of living that we've got to check out. That's what's different about people that can use drugs and drink and all that stuff, and those of us who do it to get rid of that person that we are, that we just can't get a hold, that we don't like, that we don't want to be. If you're in this room, and you have doubts about whether or not you are, an addict or an alcoholic or anything like that, then that's you need to do some soul searching and find out. But if you're in here and you're everything's resonating with you, then you probably are. And one of my biggest suggestions is to pick up that, even though my biggest problem wasn't alcohol, my biggest problem was drugs. I read that blue book. It's called The Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and what it does is it helps to set tracks for you to ride on, some steps to take in order to understand what addiction means and who you are as an addict, and the things that you've got to do in order to change that. Because remember, addiction is just a symptom of an underlying problem, and you've got to go do some soul searching and find out what that is for you. Whether it was family issues or whatever it may be. Some of us have organic issues, that has made life harder for us. People with ADHD and things like that, and dyslexia and all these other things. And there's a lot of underlying problems, but that's individual to each and every person that may be in here that's struggling with this. You got to find out what that is. And what's really cool about the programs of Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous is that somebody will be there to help mentor you through it, who's been through it too. So, no need to go through it on your own and try and bare knuckle through it. You know, I know that there's people out there that probably done it, but it wasn't like that for me. You know, that's what I did. So with that, I got to get to another meeting. I appreciate you guys and great job,
Thank you,
Jimmy,
RG3.
put it
Yeah, thank you
together.
a lot, bro.
Yeah, you guys take
Appreciate
care. Have a good one.
appreciate you, man. Have a good night. Romanian Dan, did you want to say anything, man? Did you have anything? You just back there with the baby? Probably, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. But I can talk a little bit, of course. So, yeah, I think maybe we shouldn't record the space because yeah.
No, yeah,
But
I definitely won't. I definitely won't record it next time.
yeah, like you
Jimmy,
said,
just a second, Jimmy. Once you're done with the spaces, delete it from your what do you call it? From your profile. Then it disappears.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Bigfoot, man, I seen you down there. What's up, man?
Hey, I just wanted to say hi. I don't know if I'm late or early, but how long have you been doing the space?
For about an hour now.
Oh, nice, nice. I
Yeah,
mean,
man.
sounds like you had a RG3 here. That's great. Did other people come up and speak also?
Yeah, man. We've had quite a few speakers, bro. I'm really blessed, dude. Happy. Grateful for everyone's input, and yeah, man, it's been pretty cool. Humble shared some wonderful knowledge, man, and I really appreciate that. That was really cool. Helped me see things for myself, and I don't know if anyone else, but for sure for me, man. And that's kind of what this space was all about, was just to help each other out and spit game, learn knowledge, and get a pickup, bro, on life and stuff, man.
Nice, man. Yeah, good for you, man. I've been lurking around other spaces. This one seems to be like the most popular one in Mexico at the moment. Um, hey, so did you touch on about who you are and what you've been through to the audience, just so everyone's aware?
No, I was gonna kind of leave that towards the end. I was waiting for some more people to get in here, and now I was only gonna do an hour show, so yeah, I will touch on that, man. I kind of gave a little synopsis of my beginning and stuff, but why this is so important to me is, I've been an addict since I was 12 years old, and I never realized I was an addict till I went to prison for the first time in 2003, and in and out, in and out, in and out, nonstop. Yeah, the recurring door, man. It was like a revolving door. I'd get out, I'd do good for 8 months, I'd go back in. I'd get out, I'd do good for 8 months, I'd go back in. But it really hit home in 2015. I went on the run out of a state, and on a suicide mission. I was done with addiction. I was done with life. I was done with everything. Um, I hated women. I hated my ex girlfriends. I thought everyone was to blame but myself. I didn't want to take a look at who I was or my problems. And so, in my terms, I suited up, right? I got a couple guns, couple pistols. I got a friend that I trusted, and was on my way to California to get dope and go back, and nothing was gonna stop me, and nothing was gonna get in my way, a cop or anything else. And so, uh, several times on the trip to where I was going, we'd make stops, and I kind of would just, I had a gun on me the entire time, and it was a sick place to be. And so I ended up getting jammed up at a store, and a security guard stopped me, and I told him to get off me and to like let me go and stuff. And he was obviously good at mixed martial arts because he dropped me very fast. And all the security guards in the store came out, helped him, tackled me, and I put a gun to his chest. And I pulled the trigger, and the trigger didn't go off, and the gun jammed, and it was kind of like a God moment for me.
Yeah, divine
And
intervention, huh?
yeah, big time, man.
Right? Holy
Um,
fuck. Because if that would have happened, imagine how your life could have been now.
it would have
But
been all bad,
golly,
Bigfoot.
continue. Please continue, dude.
It would have been all bad. And so the cops were called, and I tried to do well while the guy was on top of me. I was trying to rack another bullet into the chamber on the concrete with the slide, just trying to hit the chamber on the concrete to rack another bullet in there. Um, and the cop pulled up, and I pointed the gun at him as well, and got commission of a gun, and that's trying to pull the trigger on the officer. And I was sentenced. Oh, I was put in the hospital because I was extremely high. I never shot up bath salts. And for anyone that you don't know, bath salts is it's a synthetic heroin or cocaine that's made in the Netherlands, or that's where I was getting it from, or in China or something like that. And it really messes your mind up. Like, it's not who you don't know who you are. You become. And I always thought I had a control over the drugs that I used. Well, anyways, they put me in the hospital, and I'd been incarcerated so many times. I kind of knew the system. I kind of knew how to play the system, and so I pretended like I was schizophrenic, because in the state of Oregon, you can book and release as a schizophrenic. Well, that was not the case where I was at. So they put me in detox. I was in detox. I went and seen social workers. I went to General Pop, and I had a guy reading my case, my paperwork basically. And he told me, he says, "Hey man, are you like trying to go to this hospital, right? This mental ward?" And I didn't know nothing about it. I said, "No, I was just hoping for a book and release." And he says, "Well, if you play this card out and be like schizophrenic and stuff like that, they'll send you up here, and you can probably just like hop the fence because it's not a lockdown facility." So I did that for 3 months. I had a professor from the college the place I'm at, come in, check me out, and I just basically was looking at spiders on the walls and just feeding them full of bullshit, and played like I was schizophrenic. So then they ended up sending me to the hospital 3 months later, and I got there and I was put on these antipsychotics, Geodon, um, clozapines, volumes, all kinds of downers, man. And I was like, I can't take these if I'm gonna escape. And so I stopped taking them and started cheeking them, because it wasn't like a super. It was a mental hospital, man. It wasn't like prison. So I went from DOC mentality right into a mental hospital, and so I played the game there a little bit, and they started catching on to me, and they're like, "This guy really isn't like schizophrenic like at all," because they deal with these people every day, right? And so I'm trying to learn what these schizophrenic people are doing, and I'm trying to reenact their movements and their habits and their things. And it's not really working too much. So I'm there for about 3 weeks, and I finally end up escaping. And so I ended up getting out of the hospital, and now there's a nationwide manhunt for me through the FBI, through U.S. Marshals. And they contact my mom, they contact my dad, he was alive at the time, they contact like 3 or 4 of my ex-girlfriends. And I didn't know this at the time, of course, because I didn't have a cell phone or nothing like that. But that night, I met this kid in the hospital, and his mom would come and bring us chewing tobacco, and in the hospital through a lotion bottle. And so I got pretty good friends with his mom and him, and she let me come to the house. And so I came to the house after I'd gotten a ride. So what happened is I stole a vehicle and realized it had OnStar on it, and the keys were in the car, and so it wasn't really like too hard. So I dropped the car off at this Walmart, walked across the street, realized that the car was like surrounded by cops, but within like 10 minutes of me getting out of the car. And so I hopped the street and walked over to this pizza shop and started talking to this guy and talked him into giving me a ride up to where this house was. Well, I had him drop me down about 3 blocks off, and then I walked to the house and knocked on the door, and she opened me with welcome arms, obviously. And then that night, my face was all over the news for the nationwide manhunt. And so I was a little scared. I didn't know what I was gonna do, fight or flight. Like, well, I was ready to do whatever it took to get out of the situation. And she offered to give me a ride to where I needed to go. So I took the ride, came and got a bunch of stuff that was in my storage unit, and then tried to sell some of it so I had some money. and she brought me back to the area that she was in, but I was like a city over because I wasn't trying to obviously go back to that same city. And I was gonna hitch a ride um to California. And because I knew friends down there that could help me, and my idea was to go to Mexico. Like that's how sick I was. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go to Mexico and live the rest of my life on the lam, right? And just like, anyways, that didn't happen like that. Her son ended up going to jail because it was an accomplice, right? And so I kind of felt bad because like as much shitty shit as I was doing as an addict, like I still have a heart and I still have feelings for people and stuff like that. I wasn't a piece of like a complete piece of crap. But anyways, she started getting really crazy with me and pulled a gun out on me. And I was like, I didn't know what to do, so I just said, chill out, I'll go turn myself in. And let that happen. When she fell asleep that night, I stole her car and w- took off to where I was gonna go. And that divine intervention, the whole situation of me pulling the gun out and putting it to the guy's chest popped in front of my face, dude. And I started having the worst anxiety in the world that I could ever have. And that was my God moment, I guess you could say. And I realized that if I continue that journey, that I'm going to be either for real shot by the U.S. Marshals, or I was going to live my life in fear for the rest of my life. And I didn't want that. And I by then it was like 4 or 5 days into the escape. I had a cell phone and stuff by then, and my friend called me up, and she's like, "What are you doing? Like, you're nuts. Like, you realize if you get caught, you're gonna go to jail for like an extremely long time." And she's like, "You still have a chance to get out of this." And so I had that, God moment, change of heart. And I did. I flipped around. I brought the car back to the lady and said I just panicked. And she took me back to the hospital. I turned myself in, and the U.S. Marshals surrounded the hospital. There had to been, I've never seen nothing like that. You only see that on the movies, right? Anyways, so
You
they
get the
started
SWAT team.